So I've been reselling since 2012, 14, 15 years now in the game, and online reselling has completely changed my life in so many magical ways. And I've sold on so many different platforms, eBay, Amazon, Mercari, apps that have come and gone. Maybe OfferUp is still a thing. We used to sell on OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, offline, garage sales, flea market. I talk about that a lot. But in terms of source inventory, one particular way that I've been sourcing for the past 7 or 8 years has completely changed my reselling career and, most importantly, my life. And I want to talk about that with you, plus so much more. Hey, what's up, guys? Kyle, Thrift Boss channel here on YouTube. Thanks for coming hanging out with me here at the utter depths of the entire internet. You guys have had some really great comments and questions over the past few months, and I don't get to answer too many of them in the actual comment section because some of them require some real discussion and real discussion to be had. So I wanted to do these videos periodically to give direct responses to some popular questions. And when I started this channel, and a lot of you guys can probably relate, people had, friends and family over the years had seen how much I love reselling and how much it certainly has changed my life. So naturally, people are curious and they want to learn more to see if it's something they want to do. And I would find myself taking a lot of one-on-one time with people out there. And I didn't mind it, but it just kept adding up every year. More and more time was spent that I was just like, I'm spending so much time, and then some of these people don't even follow through, or they just kind of quit the business. They dabble a little bit. So I was like, I've been watching so much reselling content on YouTube. I'm just going to do the same and point people straight to that page and then tell them to watch a few videos. And if there's still interest, then we can talk. But that was like the primary reason for starting this channel. But now it's, instead of friends and family who I bored to death with this stuff, now there's getting a lot of great questions and a lot of great community out there in the reselling YouTube community. So it's just a chance to interact with you guys. So I appreciate whenever you guys send these comments and questions. And I picked like 10 or 15 or so that I'm going to respond to. In addition to, like I said in the intro, I've talked about this multiple times on the channel, but I want to talk about what I think is the best way to get to source inventory, what has really changed the game for me. And that said, obviously, we're talking just like everything on this particular channel, it's only coming from my own experience. I can't speak for everyone else. What works for me may not work for you. The way I see things may not be the way you see things, or the way I do things might not work for you, and vice versa. Maybe there's better ways of doing things, more efficient ways of doing things, and that's all for us to discover within this world. We're constantly evolving as resellers, and I notice how much I have changed, whether it's just the policies and procedures that I put in place in my business, to the things I look at, to the things I sell. All that continues to change. I'm going to put my 90-day total on the screen here, and I know that lacks some context, but it's limited context, but it's better than nothing. But you guys really don't know what I'm spending or what actually is profit from all this stuff, so it's very limited context. However, it gives some insight or a little bit of reference for why I'm talking about what I'm talking about, why I answer questions in the way that I do. Just basically a little bit about the experience that I have as a reseller. And you can see, like, this is my very typical averages. I'm between 150 to 250 items at any given time are in stock. So it's a relatively small store. And I usually have like a 600 sales-ish, somewhere around there, for a 90-day total. So what you're looking at is pretty typical for my 90 days. So that all said, what I've been doing, and I've talked so many times in the past about this, and I've made a lot of videos about unclaimed and lost cargo pallets and why it has been a complete game changer for me. And I'm getting tens of thousands of items, and I get a lot of questions in those videos. And I don't want to spend too much time because I answer a lot of those questions in those videos, so I'm not going to rehash too much in this particular video, other than to say, at the heart of buying these pallets, it's not necessarily the unclaimed lost cargo pallets themselves, it's the concept of buying in bulk. That has completely changed my reselling business. And there are some pros and cons. I'm tying up a lot of capital when I'm buying these things because I'm spending roughly, I don't know, $1,500 a week on these things, 15 to 20 pallets per month, and each box has like over 1,000 particular items in it. And it takes a little time to get that money back, and I don't even recoup all that money before I'm out there buying again. But I'm getting a lot of inventory all at once. The amount of time that I would spend to get the same amount of stuff to sell online, if I were going out to individual estate sales, yard sales, thrift stores, that kind of thing, it would be months on end for just what I'm getting in like 3 or 4 pallets. That's something that, again, has completely changed my life. And I know some folks out there, like, it just seems like too much work. It is kind of overwhelming to get that amount of stuff. And the idea of going out to thrift stores, estate sales and such, and being able to cherry pick just the good stuff is certainly something that is appealing to so many. I'm only selling maybe 15 to 20% of what's in these pallets that actually makes it onto eBay. So it seems like a lot of work. So I understand that point of view. And I still love going to garage sales and thrift stores and estate sales. I still absolutely love it. But again, the cost of the time associated with going to thrift stores and garage sales and such on the weekend, if I can, I will absolutely do it. But for me, it's just so much more efficient to get a lot of stuff all at one time, despite my love of going out there and cherry picking. And the cherry picking version of reselling, going out there and finding stuff out in the wilds, can certainly be more cost effective. You're not spending so much money all at once, and you can make higher margins perhaps. And again, there's no real wrong way. It's more about just discovering, trying new things out. And that's one thing that not only I think is important for reselling, but in life, is that we just adventure and explore, add new perspective, because we never know what we're going to discover that might work or be better, or find our favorites in different ways of doing things, different ways of looking at things. And that's the kind of thing that can completely change our lives. And so many times in my life, I've had euphoric moments strictly by just trying and going out and exploring a new adventure and trying something new. You never know what somebody might say that might hit you differently or speak at you differently at different points in your career. It's like reading a book, the same book twice or three times in your life at different ages. When you read a book when you're 20 years old, and then you read that same book maybe when you're like 30, you've had a lot more life experience, you've had a lot more time out in the world to experience things different. You're gonna get a lot different meaning and understanding from that book. You're gonna look at things with new eyes and new perspective. And then again, when you're 45 or 50 and you read the same book, it's the same again. You've grown so much as a person. You're gonna take different messages and understand it and look at it a little bit differently. And that's certainly what can happen by consuming content from different creators here on YouTube. You never know what's gonna speak to you at what time. So adventure, get out there, explore. There are whole videos to be made just about this pallet process, and you guys have certainly seen it on my channel. So again, I'm not going to harp too much on that, but it does lead me into some of the questions that you guys have been asking. We're starting with Secret Super Shopper, which wrote, do you think these pallets would be worth it if you didn't have the flea market outlet? Straight up answer is yes. So in these pallets, I'm getting, again, thousands and thousands of items, and a good portion, maybe 25 to 30%, is stuff that I end up bringing to a flea market to sell. And that stuff is usually like $1 or $2, maybe 10. Once in a while, I'll have maybe $20 or $50 items, but mostly it's just stuff that is good quality stuff, but it doesn't quite meet that threshold of around $20 for me to list it on eBay and sell it. So still decent quality stuff that has some value that I don't want to bring straight to like donation, for example. About 50% of the stuff I end up just bringing straight to donation, as a lot of these pallets have a lot of stuff that's just not saleable. And in the past year or so, I've been taking a lot of stuff to the flea market, and I'm making a ton of cash at the flea market. I've talked about that also multiple times, where I'm in and out within about 4 hours overall, and I'm doing it usually twice a month, and I'm making at the low end maybe $600, $700, all the way up to $1,200, even up to $1,500. So it's somewhere there in about 4 hours time. So it's obviously very excellent, and it's all cash, and it's all stuff that ends up actually being profit, because most of these pallets have enough good stuff that goes up on eBay, the stuff that's surrounding me in my inventory room here, more than covers the cost of the pallet. So everything at the flea market, that $1,200 that I might get on a Sunday, is pure gravy. Is that the word I'm looking for? I mean, I know gravy is kind of the metaphor, but I don't even know if I want gravy all the time. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for gravy, and I definitely don't want gravy on top of my bank account. So this question, do you think these pallets would be worth it? Because I have made a big stink about how much money I make at the flea market, and the answer is they are absolutely still worth it. Then we get a question from Chris. Strange and somewhat crazy Goodwill story. I mentioned a few videos ago about having this strange experience at Goodwill where Goodwill refused. I don't know, you guys probably saw this video, but where the Goodwill employee and somebody in the donation line were arguing over donations that were in my truck, trying to fight over who was getting it. Anyway, if you want to hear the story, check out that video. But anyway, this comment. Love your content. Thanks for taking the time to do videos. Have a quick question. You don't want to seem petty, but when you donate items, do you document it somehow and write them off come tax time? And what I learned a while ago is you actually can't do that because that would be double dipping. I'm writing things off at the time of purchase. So if I were to try to write it off again when I donate it, that would be basically double dipping on the deductions in the eyes of the IRS. Obviously, if you're donating stuff that you didn't purchase for reselling, yes, then you could absolutely, Goodwill does provide a receipt that you can use. And I think there's a limit, $400 or $600 is like the limit that you can deduct for like charitable donations. And then I did have a comment, I can't find it, but in regards to somebody who's basically begging me to stop donating to Goodwill. And I completely understand and appreciate the comment. I get it. I know there's no love lost with a lot of folks out there in Goodwill. I don't love the company myself. The reason I'm bringing stuff to Goodwill is because of the mass amount of stuff that I have in a given week. And I actually know a manager to the local thrift store, which is only a few blocks from where I live. And she's already overwhelmed. Thrift stores are overwhelmed already by the communities. Maybe not all of them in all places, I understand that. But here, I'm in a larger city in the Southeast. The amount of donations that come through are just, they can't handle already what they're getting. So if I were to bring thousands of items per week, even they have a third party that comes and just picks up stuff that they can't sort through. They can't get through and process everything. They don't have the manpower versus like a place like Goodwill, who every time I show up, they kind of know my truck and they roll their eyes because they know there's a lot of work that's coming in for them. But Goodwill has the manpower and the time and the processing power to really get through the amount of stuff. So yes, I would love to stop bringing stuff to Goodwill, but at the moment, the amount of stuff is just, it would overwhelm any other place that I have found in my area. Then we got Chili Mountain Pickers, which I recognize this name. You guys do a lot of comments, so thanks for supporting and participating here on YouTube. Great video question. When you buy pallets, can you choose to get other companies such as Walmart, Lowe's, Target, Home Depot, etc.? Or do they specialize in Amazon? Do I know if other companies' pallets are more or less expensive? So again, another comment about the pallets. And at the place that I do it, which I know I get a lot of comments like, where do I specifically buy? And what I can say is anybody can find this. Anybody else can discover it. Google is your best friend. There are these liquidation unclaimed cargo pallets are nationwide. You can find them wherever you are. So I'm not going to invite competition into the exact place where I go because it's already growing. There's already so much competition. I don't want to invite more and have to pay for more. But technically, you could find it very easy yourself. And maybe you already know, and maybe we're bidding against each other right now. I don't know, but I'm certainly got to invite more competition. And I know you guys can appreciate that. That said, this particular place that I'm going to, they just have like general merchandise. You don't know where it's coming from. It's not coming from any particular retailer. It's just all mixed in stuff together. I'm sure some of this stuff does come from these stores that you're mentioning, these companies that you're mentioning. And I'm sure some Amazon, it's not specific to like Amazon pallets either. I know there's probably some Amazon stuff in there, certainly, but no, this is just a general merchandise. There's no way to kind of pick and choose where you want your stuff from. It's all commingled together and it's all just up for grabs and you don't know where it's coming from. And as far as the cost of these pallets, I don't know how other companies do them. I'm paying roughly $500 up to say 900, maybe 1,000, depending on the season, depending on how many people are showing up. And then we get this comment from C Loves Jesus. I love Jesus too. OMG. Enough on the cutting board. I talked a lot about a cutting board in one video, and I just want to remind C Loves Jesus that if you cut on any board, it then becomes a cutting board. And outside of reselling content, one of my favorite things to watch, besides also adventure videos, love adventure videos here on YouTube. I watch a lot of gambling, specifically slot machine. This is like, what does this have to do with reselling? Nothing. Pretty much. I'm just sharing, getting to know you. Actually, you're getting to know me. I'm getting to know you through reading comments. I don't know. That's already confusing. Let's get back to the question. Just subbed, came over from Desert Degens. They're one of my favorite slot. I don't know if you guys are gamblers out there, but these guys, Desert Degens, awesome guys, Mike and Ryan. And I met them out in Vegas last summer. I made it into one of their videos, and I'll share. I took a little video of them when we were all together. This is Mike and Ryan from Desert Degens. I've been following these guys. I'm here in Vegas. Gambling some of the eBay profits that we all love, mostly losing them, but hey, it's another day. But check out these guys' channel. They're one of my new favorite. If you're into gambling, slot machines, these guys are amazing. They're growing so fast. They're awesome. I love them. So check them out. And I'll put a link down below and a little thingy bob up here on the screen. So awesome. Good luck, guys. I ended up like sponsoring one of their videos, and Ellie Mae and Earl Shive came over. They saw that video. So welcome to the pits of YouTube here. And this great story about what you find in storage units. Storage units are so much fun. I don't know, do you guys out there, have you ever bought any abandoned storage units? The thrill of the treasure hunt is strong with those bad boys. I love storage units. they're probably my favorite, my number one way to source. I don't know, because I really love them all. I love garage sales and estate sales, but I don't know, storage units, it's just that when that metal door rises up, it's like it rises up with my, my heart palpitation. Then we got a video from Calico Earth, and this comment about striving for a more minimalistic lifestyle has you wondering, are you considering stopping or slowing down buying for different businesses model as a reseller? A journey towards being a more minimalist reseller. This I wanted to highlight this because this has made me think a lot over the past week or so, and I want to actually touch upon this in a separate video, but I wanted to highlight it here because I talked about I don't know, 2 videos ago about moving towards, being a reseller has really just changed my perspective of stuff, of material things in my life. And I'm moving towards, and I have been for a while, even before like reselling really, just like a more minimalistic approach to certainly how I live, but it may actually segue into a more minimalistic approach to my business as well. But yeah, and I'm going to make more of a video. Appreciate the question, the comment, Calico Earth. And we got Delaney Duo. Enjoy channel advice. Well, thank you so much. I love this second store idea, what I just mentioned about having a second traveling store for when I'm on vacation. One question you have is that you're shipping from a different zip code, location, state. What happens with returns from that second store? Would it be returned to that different location? And what Delaney Do is referencing is that I talk about bringing a travel reselling kit, basically, and you can actually buy shipping, change the zip, edit the zip code from wherever you are. So where, if I'm in Montana, and I'm reselling, and that's not my primary selling zip code, you can actually edit. So when you're purchasing eBay shipping, you just edit the zip codes, and then eBay automatically updates the correct shipping charges based on where you're shipping from. And you're asking, does it get shipped back to that address? No, I have a primary return address that you can set on your account. Those returns will always go back to that primary address that you have set for your returns unless you edit. Because I go on so many vacations in a given year, that's something that reselling, becoming an online reseller has provided me. There's a lot of physical and financial freedom, and I definitely take advantage of it. I'm on the road maybe 3 months in a given year out on vacation, and I happen to work on some vacations, work as a reseller, going out to thrift stores and finding stuff and selling stuff from the road. You can thrift wherever you go. Then we have a great comment. It's not really a question. I talk about Hot Wheels, selling Hot Wheels a lot. I get these red line. If you guys aren't familiar, there's some Hot Wheels with red lines on the tires, and they're just like called the Red Line Club or Red Line Edition of cars. And I made a comment in multiple videos because whenever I find those red line cars, they actually sell really fast. And me not being a connoisseur of Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars and such, I made a comment that if you find the red line, oftentimes those will have some value. And somebody corrected me because I assumed it had value if it had a red line. But as Calperon 3S85 mentioned, simply having a red line on the tire does not make it valuable. Many are still $1 cars unless they are early models with, you can see here on the question. So that's something I continue to learn as a reseller, continue to evolve. I made a lot of assumptions about these red tires. I acted like I knew everything, and it's very evident that I know this poquito, un poco. But still, the red line on the tire is a good first step of kind of investigating to see if there's some value to these things. And then we got a message from, I'm not sure how to say this, but you see who you are, and I love you. Hi, Kyle. Enjoy your videos. I look forward to seeing what you're selling. Do you give your buyers the USPS discount? That's something I like to hear about. I've noticed other YouTubers have talked about this. I think what you're mentioning is, we get a discount by buying shipping through our platform. For the eBay platform, we get whatever it is, 13 up to 40% off the shipping cost. And I do not pass that savings on. I make my shipping process. I know shipping is like one of those learning curves, especially as newer sellers. It feels really steep, that learning curve. What I like to do, just to keep it simple, is I just basically charge flat cost, and I've developed it over the years where if something's really light, and I could be here for a while defining like what's really light. Well, what's kind of light but not super light. If something's really light, I basically have a $6 charge. Once in a while, it'll be $5 if it's something like that I know is like a 1 ounce type item or 2 ounce type package. But otherwise, I just put $6 flat shipping, And then same, like if anything's heavier, I basically just gauge it while I'm shipping it. Well, I just have like a $6 flat for really light things. If it's a little bit heavier, I do $7 or $8. And then once in a while, it'll be $9 or $10. It's really just in the moment, in the heat of passion, when I'm listing, I'm gauging it by my experience of the size of the package, by how much it weighs. And what that leads to is sometimes I make a little extra money if somebody buys it locally and I had like a $7 shipping charge, but it's like a lighter package and it only costs me $5 to ship. You know, I'm making a little bit money on the shipping, but sometimes in that $7 flat price that I'm charging, maybe somebody in California bought it and the shipping cost is like $8.20 or whatever. So I'm losing a little bit on the shipping. It goes both ways, but for me, for peace of mind, I just have flat rates. It makes it easy to list, quick to list, and I don't, overall it still works out in my favor, as oftentimes I'm a pretty good judge of not undercharging for shipping. I had these 2 community posts that I wanted to discuss real quick. Basically ask, why do you resell? What category are you? Are you somebody that doesn't depend on the cash, but you just like to have a little bit of extra money? If it's your full-time job, that you have another career, but you need to have a supplemental income, or you just do it for fun and you actually don't even track how much money you spend or take, or maybe you're losing money. 50% of you out there said you don't depend on your reselling money and you're just doing it for extra money. And I think that's really dope. I think reselling is the perfect supplementary job and income. If it's something that you need to supplement, I also think that the online reselling is good, whether you need the extra money or not. I think it's such like a flexible, fun side gig that I think can be accessible to so many folks, and it's not very hard. And you can make a few $100 with relatively low effort. So 79% of you are either have another job and you're using it to supplement your income, or you're just doing it for fun, but you don't need the extra money. And then about 20%, 19% of you said that it is your full-time job. That's the category that I'm in. It's my primary source of income, and it is my full-time job, although it's only part-time hour. There's 2% of you that said you don't track money, and you're not sure if you're making money or you're losing money. And I think that's like a fun concept, that you just really love the game, the treasure hunting aspect of it all. And I think that's one of the things that we all have in common. Then this other post, how many hours do you dedicate towards your reselling in a 7-day period? And 38% of you said 12 to 25. I wish I could track to see if these correlate. Like for those full-time folks out there, that 19% of that first that said this was your full-time job, I wonder how many hours you guys work out there to make a full-time income. I myself work about 30 to 32 in a given week, so I'm in that 13%. But interesting to see the lowest percentage is that 30 to 40 hours that I'm in, and then some of you guys are out there for more than 40 hours. So that's I would assume that if you're working more than 40 hours, I can only assume it's your full-time job, and then 10 or less is probably very much like a hobby. But anyway, I thought you guys might find those results interesting as I did. But again, thanks for hanging out with me guys today. I know it's a lot of talking head stuff today, and I have a video coming up next week, I think, where I'm going to highlight some really cool, unique, weird, small things that have some really high value, easy stuff to overlook when we're out in the wilds, and stuff that actually shocked me with the amount of value they have. And I'm like, WTF is this thing? So interesting. Anyway, questions, comments, keep them coming, and I hope to see you guys out in the wilds.